In the last exercise, we learned about Power BI dashboards. So we took some of our report visualizations and we published them in an online dashboard. That does require licensing, so that limits what we'll be able to discuss regarding dashboards. But today we're back in the Power BI desktop and we are going to do forecasting. I'm going to use the same data set that I used in the previous exercises. I only need the orders table. And now there you have it, it's in our data. Now I will change the name of my report page. Alright, I've titled my report page Demand Forecast. And to make a forecast, let's use a line chart. And we'll have to have the date on the x-axis. And what will we be forecasting? Well, in this case, it would be sales. So let's select sales, and that put the sales over on the y-axis. And then on the x-axis, I want date. And I'm going to go into my date hierarchy, and I'm going to select year, and then I'm going to select month. If you don't select it in that exact order, your chart may look a little bit different. So if yours looks different, then make sure that you've selected year first and then month. Alright, so now we have a format where we have a sales month by month. We can hover over it and we see that we get a sum of sales, otherwise total sales for each month in our tooltip. That looks good, so next we'll do a little bit of formatting. So in the visualization pane here, I can click on this icon. First I'll change the title, so in the General tab I can expand the options here, and I want to call my title Superstore Demand Forecast. I'm going to make it a little larger. And that looks good. So let's go over to the Visual tab and let's edit our line. First, I'm going to adjust the line. I'm going to leave it as a solid line. I just made it a little thicker, and I'm going to make my interpolation type smooth. Great, that looks good. Let's edit the color, which is also nested within the line menu. There, I like this color. And I'll give it just a little bit of transparency as well. Our chart is starting to look good, but I don't really feel like we need the axes titles, so I will turn those off. And I will set the y-axis sales figure to be a currency as well. When I click on it in the data pane, as you recall, we go to column tools, and then in the formatting, we can set it to currency, and now it displays with a $sign. I like the formatting of the chart the way that we have it so far, so now we can go over and do the forecasting. And for that, we're going to go to the analytics icon here, and we have forecast down here. But before I turn on the forecast, let's just take a look at anomalies really quick. You can use one or the other, so it's an interesting option, and it just kind of helps to show you outliers. but this video is about forecasting, so you notice when it's on, forecasting is not an option. We also have an anomaly right here. I will turn that off, and let's see what happens when we turn on the forecast. We can see that Power BI has used a model. It uses exponential smoothing models, and it has given us monthly forecasting. But we can make some adjustments here to the forecast. So let's open the options, and I'm going to set the units here to be years. And the forecast length will be 3. When you have the ignore last, this would be used if the case was the most recent time period is not complete, so the data is not complete, so you might use that in that case, but we have complete data for our years represented here, so we're just going to leave that as a 0. And for seasonality, our data is monthly, and it takes 12 months to create one season, so we're going to use 12. Seasonality could be different if your seasonality was weekly or monthly, or just, it depends on what you're visualizing. But in this case, we're looking at a retail season, and the retail season is an annual season, so it's 12 months. I can leave the confidence interval at 95%, and if you change this, it will affect the confidence shaded area, but I have all of this set, and I'm going to click apply, and we can see what happens. Now we can see that we have 3 years of forecast. It's adjusting, it's considering the trend, and it's the level, and also the trend, and it's also considering the seasonality. So this would be like a triple exponential smoothing model. So it shows you the shaded region, and when you hover over it, you can also see it says forecast 1, and it gives you an upper bound and a lower bound. On the actual region, it gives you the total sales, since these are actual numbers and not forecasted numbers. I'm going to change this confidence level just to show the effect that it has, but I don't like to do it too much because it seems to get stuck, I guess. So you can see that it has shaded the area, and we're saying that this is the forecast. It's along this line here, but we're 75% confident it will be in this other shaded area. Now let's go back to 95% because I prefer that one. Anyhow, let's go into the forecasting the line area because that's a little bit more fun. So let's pick a color for our forecast line, and I am going to make it a little thicker to match a little better with the actual line. And there we go. So I formatted my forecast line to look kind of similar to my actual line. And let's take a look at confidence lines. So the confidence lines would be on the outside of the shaded confidence area. So if I turn these on, it's a subtle change. But maybe if I make them a little thicker, it's not so subtle. You could keep them if you like. I'm going to turn them off. There's also the confidence shadow. You have some, or the shade here, you have some options there. So you can play around with all of these settings and see the effect. All right, finally here, the tooltip title. If I hover over, you'll notice that it reads forecast 1 and then upper bound and lower bound. I would like it to say something other than forecast 1 because forecast 1 implies that there would be a forecast 2 and there's not. Or you might want to name your forecast something specific, like Superstore forecast, or whichever company or purpose that you're creating a forecast for. But I'm just going to call it forecast. So I'm just going to take the 1 away. And now when I hover over and you read the tooltip, it says forecast instead of forecast 1. And that concludes this exercise on making a forecast in Power BI.